Joining us live is Moziwenkosi Blessed Gwala, IFP National Chairperson and KZN Spokesperson on Community Safety and Liaison Officer. We have Professor Barry Hanyane, political analyst in studio. Barry, thanks so much for joining us. I mean, there are commissions and other structures or forums that are running parallel and trying to get to the root of the political killings. In your view, is this something that has become part of the culture, especially when we see in KwaZulu-Natal and, in certain sectors of society?
Well, good evening, Cindy. Good evening to your viewers at home. Look, I think it's a more complex issue if you can have a look at it critically. What is interesting is that this whole violence has even spread to other industries as well, not only political, but also in the taxi industry. It will be interesting to read in the next coming 10 months as to the report that the Premier Willis Mkhono has in a sense, initiated through the establishment of a commission of inquiry under the SC Moerane. One would wait and see what kind of findings are there. But my take is it may require a wider investigation, both look at institutionalized violence, look at the kind of economies of scale, if you want, that may contribute. But very importantly, the intra and inter-party conflicts, wherein there may be conflict within one particular party, but also conflict amongst many parties that have dominated the political landscape in KZN.
Yeah, and that's referred to anecdotally in that this is part of the leadership for 2019 or the elective conference in 2017 that people are beginning to position themselves. The SACP also saying that the lack or reluctance to act on the part of the ANC to get to the root of it. I don't think it's just one the prerogative of one party to get to the bottom of this. I mean,
no, absolutely. Yeah. I'll certainly agree with that. So I just wish that there was, in a sense, a credible institution, not necessarily a commission of inquiry. Over the past few months or so, there has been some skeptical response to commissions of inquiry. At the end of the day, certain parties who have interest in certain issues may very well feel disgruntled about certain outcomes. But let's hope that this commission would find its feet in terms of unraveling some of the causes, some of the dynamics that have come to characterize this kind of violence in our polity.
Yeah. On the line, we're joined by Moziwenkosi Blessed Gwala. He's the IFP National Chair and KZN spokesperson for Community Safety and Liaison. Thanks so much for your time, Mr. Gwala. In your response to this commission and the other interventions in trying to deal with political killings, what is it that needs to be done to eradicate it completely if nobody takes responsibility and there is little, or rather there's impunity and no convictions?
No, for now, it will be very difficult to predict what is going to happen. But as far as the Premier of the province have put up a commission that will actually investigate the political killings in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, which has, I presume, it can start any moment from now. But he has already announced that commission to investigate about the killing. But it started with the ANC councillors who were killed. Surely it's an inter-party conflict, but it might be some other motives behind that. That's why there was a reason for the commission to be established in order to investigate and come up with the findings, so that maybe the findings will actually help everybody in the province.
Babu Gwala, how do you base your aspersion, Yuguti, there is surely political infighting that is causing these killings? It could also come from the opposition parties.
Do not get it now what the question is about.
No. Earlier on you said that it's surely because of the divisions within the ANC that has led to the killings. I'm saying, what do you base that remark on? Because for all we know, it could come from elsewhere. Political parties, we've heard of hit squads nameless and faceless people being involved?
No, but that is what we were informed, because there was an inter-party conflict between the ANC itself. In fact, the ANC initially proposed that the commission must investigate about the ANC itself, that's the inter-party. That's what they were saying at the beginning. It was the opposition parties who argued that you can't use state resources to investigate yourself. If it is an investigation, it must cover all political killings. If it's not a political killing, but political leaders become the victims of the killings that take place in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So that's why we came to a conclusion that a commission should in fact investigate all the killings that take place, which is around the killing of political leaders.
All right, so what submissions, if you are indeed attending the multi-party meeting on Thursday to discuss political killings, what kind of submissions will the IFP be making?
Which Thursday now?
Oh, there's this Thursday, the Alliance are meeting, ANC and the SACP. I'm not sure if the IFP will be participating in that, but if you were, what submissions would you be making?
No, but they didn't invite us. So how can I come with submission in a meeting which we were not even told about it?
All
it
right.
was between the SACP and the ANC. That's why I'm saying it's an inter-party killings within the ANC itself. That's why they met as SACP and ANC.
All right, Mr. Gwala, please stay on the line. We have Barry Hanyane, Professor Barry Hanyane in studio as well. So essentially, at least we've narrowed it down now to just being within the tripartite alliance, the conflicts within there. The only thing remaining is empirical evidence that indeed it comes from those structures.
Well, look, it points to one picture, that one, perhaps the investigation should start there. But I agree, we need to look at inter-party conflicts and not necessarily intra-party conflicts. A good start would be to look at possible skirmishes between the SACP and the ANC, but broaden it widely to include the IFP and the NFP, and perhaps one or two other players that may very well be affected. It could include independent councillors. Remember, KZN boasts itself of a number of independent councillors than any other province. Their voice would count and go a long way in terms of providing some perspective around this issue.
Mr. Gwala, just with the political killings, what impact does this have in the governance of the particular wards and councils, and primarily in legislature as well?
No, it does affect especially communities and the relatives of those who find themselves being in these killings. And you'll recall that there are so many councillors that were killed before the 3rd of August and after the 3rd of August elections. So to us, it is important that everybody must be on board in trying to investigate, that will be able to be in a position to understand the reasons for killings of political leaders.
All right, stay on the line, Mr. Gwala, please. We have Tsepiso in Zeerust. Hello to you. Good evening. Thanks for calling.
Good evening, Cindy, and how are you, ma'am?
I'm good, thank you. What's your question or comment?
Yeah, Cindy, the way boys are raised in that province is so worrisome, because they can tell you, I have a lot of them working with them in the mine, and, they can tell you, they can confidently tell you that if you are not having a gun in that province, you are not you are actually not a man enough. And they were raised in such a manner that fighting is always a solution for every problem. So the nature of the province is so worrisome. So actually, when the commission is launched, they must get in deeper details, because Otherwise, if they make political engagement, then they will not solve the problem. Thank you very much.
All right, Tshepiso, thanks so much. Babu Gwala, if you'll take that one, that it's entrenched in the culture in KwaZulu. I know it's a general blanket statement, but something that we can ventilate in dealing with these matters.
No, I do not believe that it's a culture, because we need to unpack what a culture means. Because you can't say it's a culture, because people are being killed in Gauteng and other provinces. So you can't say it's a culture. I think what we need to agree is that there must be an investigation. What is the reason for the killing?
And that's exactly where we are, Barry. I mean, what would be the reason if the position is not necessarily guaranteed of those that are orchestrating these kind of moves, or is it to destabilize the party? What is the motive behind it? That's the question.
Look, if you speak around that, one issue comes to mind, and that is the creation of the illusion that entering into the political fray guarantees some sense of a career, and that is political careerism. That, for me, may very well be one of the issues that should be looked at. I wouldn't at this point in time ventilate too much around the issue of whether it's a culture or tendencies, because that may very well put us in a spot of bother in terms of the semantics, in terms of defining what culture is, and beyond that, looking what tendencies are. So let's leave that to experts in the field of culture, in the field of violence, be it political and otherwise, to guide us further. But the findings themselves may be interesting to look at as to whether are they driven by economies of scale naturally, or indeed by differing political ideological issues and interests that may have a burning kind of influence in terms of airing out the kind of differences that may very well result in the violence that we see.
Yeah, and aren't you concerned in the modus operandi of these assassinators who, or the assassins rather, who come, you know, they seem to be known to the ward councillors, those that have died. In the recent case of Councillor Khumalo, he was approached at his home and requested to assist the assassin, only to find that it led to his demise. So they're soft targets, clearly. And where's the law enforcement in that regard?
Well, if you bring them in, I suppose the kind of psychological and criminal analysis of that may very well come in handy here. If it's mafia kind of killings, surely it may prove that certain evidence, tangible and otherwise, does exist that points a finger to suspect and as you rightly point out, the modus operandi. That is important. So in a sense, I'd like to see this commission having on board your forensic experts who have grounded feet into issues of criminal patterns, into issues of criminal tendencies that may very well go beyond the scope of political killings, but also into the taxi industry, as I've said earlier on.
Babu Gwala, are you also of the view, as the SACP had alluded to, that hit squads could be involved in this particular matter, and that there's also room to maneuver for criminal elements as opposed to it just being directly political killings, because that in itself has not been proven as such?
No, but as far as we are concerned is that we have done our part. We have agreed that there must be a commission to investigate. We have set up a budget, and then we have nominated people who are supposed to run the commission. And then our duty as we speak is now to encourage communities to come and table what they think are the reasons for these killings, if they do have any evidence. But that will not actually frustrate the process by the police to arrest those that have been found involved in the killings, whether it is a political killings, because the commission will actually separate those that are political killings and those that are not political killings. But all what we need is something that will be put on the table to say the reason for the killing is this, coming from the commission. So I cannot guess now whether it is motivated by crime or by anything, because if I do so, then it will be premature.
All right, please stay on the line. Willie, you're calling us from Soweto. Good evening to you. What's your question or comment?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Winnie, not Willie.
Hi, Winnie. I beg your pardon.
Winnie at Soweto, Ezola.
Welcome.
I'm a member of ANC and ANC Women's League in the province of the ANC. I wanted to comment about the killings of the councillors.
We're listening, Winnie.
Yes. I think the better now councillors must have security. If the commission also, they can look at that. That they must have the security like ministers and MECs, because these killings is continuing and continuing. Moreover, this year on 2016. But I wanted to ask a question from Cindy, that why she's saying a culture. What does she mean about culture? Is it any culture for killing people? So I wanted clarity from here. Where does she get that thing of culture?
All right, Winnie, thanks so much. Utset Piso called earlier on saying that boys are reared in a particular way in KwaZulu-Natal to be aggressive and to carry arms. And this is what I had posed to Mr. Gwala, who's clarified it, including Barry as well. So it's something that was based on what a caller had said earlier. But let's look at the issue of security, whether councillors ought to be given that benefit of having security as well, Barry.
It's not feasible, Cindy. Such a privilege, if you want, would come with a measure of monetary responsibility. And I don't think municipalities can afford that. Already, if you go back as far as 2008, 2009, you look at the Salga report, or reports rather, that pointed to the fact that a lot of money spent by municipalities goes towards salaries. Almost 1/3 of that goes to salaries. So whatever that is left must go to service delivery. What I would rather recommend, and strongly so, is that political parties themselves should take the responsibility of educating their members about tolerance, about issues of political maturity. But beyond that, let us go out and educate our people in respect to issues around civic education, generally speaking, and make sure that the message of political maturity, of responsibility, of taking some measure of tolerance and understanding of the different views in a broader political landscape becomes everyone's business.
Yeah, Mr. Gwala, just your response on that we need to encourage more tolerance and coexistence as opposed to now having to have added security for councillors, that at grassroots level, members, communities and political representatives need to essentially be on the same wavelength.
No, I think I agree with one who commented about that it will not be feasible, because you need to count how many councillors do we have. And if each councillor must have a bodyguard, and you must also understand that it will not be one person, it must be more than one, because those people need to alternate as well. And it's very expensive to hire the companies, security companies, to look to every person who is a leader in South Africa. And secondly is that when it comes to the issue of tolerance, I agree, but up to date, we cannot say that the political killings come from other politicians. Take, for example, we have lost on Sunday one leader who is a publicity secretary of the youth brigade of the IFP, who was coming from a funeral of his father. But while he was at Esikaleni, there were people who were drinking beer on the road and sitting on the road. When he asked them to move so that he can be able to drive through, then he was stabbed to death. So you can't say it's tolerance from political parties, because those people did not even know that Mr. Sithole is an IFP member, because he was coming from another area, which is almost 45 kilometers away.
All right, point taken. Tsepo and Alexander, good evening to you.
Good evening, Helen. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity. My comment is that, this political violence, I think before, given the history of South Africa and the dominance of political parties, more especially IFP and ANC, they were happening, in those parties. But I think since most of the power, more especially from the ANC alliance, is influenced within the structure of ANC, it is bound to happen. But I'm not saying it is right for this thing to happen. I'm saying they are influenced by people within the same structure, because when we have SACP and ANC both fighting for, a common purpose of being influenced in whatever society, might be in business and so forth, this political violence are going to happen, more frequently.
So you're saying people are scrambling for positions and eliminating the opposition, as it were?
Precisely. Like I was saying.
Tsepo, sorry, we lost you there. Thanks so much, Tsepo and Alexandra. Mandla, you're calling us from Centurion. Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening, Cindy. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Your question or comment?
Yes, ma'am. I've got a worry, yes, in the with the killings, political killings that are happening at KZN, especially when we are looking at this commission. I mean, I don't think it can be right. I mean, for the premier, I mean to lead the coalition. I mean
the commission.
Yes,
Why?
on behalf of the ANC, ANC and the PAC fighting. But what should be happening at KZN? All parties must take part on that commission, because what we can see right now there are not ANC councillors that are killed. IFP, councillors are being killed. What of call that Zanele Makwazam Civis Party, people are complaining as well that their people are being killed. So I don't think it can be correct that we can single the ANC people that are being killed as they are killing themselves between them and the
that point taken. Thanks indeed, saying that a multi-party approach is a requisite to deal with this matter.
Look, Mr. Gwala mentioned that point, that initially it started as an ANC initiative, but eventually it received the blessings of all and sundry in terms of active political parties in that province. This is my reading as well, that despite the fact that the commission itself is funded by the Premier's purse, it does involve all parties that are affected.
All right.